Welcome everyone to our webinar for this month. The topic is cybersecurity and how to protect your online accounts. This is Quinn Arnold with Arnold & Moat Wealth Management, and I've got as our presenter today, and as usual, Matt Hilland, one of our planners at the firm. I want to remind everybody that we get these topics from our clients as we're talking through questions and concerns. So if you ever have something that comes up that you think would warrant a little deeper examination and you'd like to see it as a webinar topic, please let us know. So with no further ado, I'll turn this over to Matt. I will be watching the chat box if you have specific questions that you want me to try to get in during the presentation. Otherwise, we also have time available typically at the end of the webinar to ask questions, or if you would like to schedule a follow-up call to talk about your particular situation, we're happy to do that in a more private setting. So with that, take it away, Matt. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, and thanks for joining us again on your Friday afternoon. October is also Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so this is a timely topic. But besides that, like Quinn said, this is something we've seen our clients impacted by and want to know what they can do to help out with the security of their online accounts. And so we wanted to review just a few important things you can do to keep yourself safe online. We're going to look at 3 simple things you can do that will put you head and shoulders above the rest, and at least not make you an easy target for some online scams and hackers. Of course, there's always going to be some risk, but we wanted just to prevent a few things that are easy to implement, not costly with your time or money, but also very, very effective. So let's get started here. The first item we're going to discuss is online password managers. We'll get into several specific companies and options you have later and walk through exactly how to set them up and use them. But first, I just thought it'd be interesting to understand why these are valuable to have in the first place. We've all heard about data breaches, for example, lately. Even the credit monitoring agencies have been hacked. So it's very likely that some amount of your information is out there somewhere. And even if you don't think major information has been leaked, the hackers don't have to have all your information to do some pretty significant damage. There's software out there, and the hackers nowadays are very good at taking little bits and pieces from here and there and connecting the dots and still being able to get into accounts. So just for example, hackers might not be able to, or might be able to find your work or email address from the LinkedIn data breach. They might know that you have a credit card open with Chase from the Experian breach, and know your password to your Home Depot login from the Home Depot breach. And they can very easily use those emails and passwords in combinations on hundreds of different accounts and websites, and hope that you've reused a username and password somewhere. So if your Home Depot password is the same as your LinkedIn password, they're going to be in. And just to give you an idea on how prevalent this is kind of behind the scenes, I found the stat from Akamai, a big cybersecurity provider, that I thought was pretty surprising. And they say that every day there's about 280 million fraudulent login attempts, across the web. So pretty much 1 per person in the United States every day. And so these guys are constantly trying to get in, and they only need to be right once in a while to really cause some trouble. So what can you do? Whether you use password managers or not, there's 2 really important things to do nowadays. First, don't reuse your passwords, and especially don't reuse passwords on important sites like banks or investment accounts. The password that you use for your bank login should definitely not be the same one you use for 100 of other shopping sites or anything like that. And then second, change your passwords regularly. Just eventually your information is going to get out there. It seems like it's best just to plan on that anymore, and changing your passwords leaves some of those leaks useless for the hackers that get that information. And so you can do all this without a password manager, of course, but you're usually left with a computer that looks something like this, 100 sticky notes everywhere, or maybe an old book that you need to carry around that has all your logins for everything written down in one place, which can also maybe be its own security threat too. And we think this is where password managers really make things a lot easier. With a password manager, you can do everything in one place, but still be very secure. It can also help you very quickly create secure passwords, that are long, have numbers, symbols, capital letters, and most importantly, make it so you don't have to remember those really complex but secure passwords. And then it can also make changing and updating these passwords easy too. This is just a screenshot of the LastPass vault. LastPass is one service that I'm personally familiar with, and so showing that here, but we'll talk about other options and other companies later as well. Any option would be fine, but just in these next few slides, we'll be walking through how to get everything set up in LastPass, and it's likely pretty similar process for these other companies as well. But this is what I see when I log into LastPass. The only password I need to remember now is my kind of master password to log into the screen that you see here. I use it every day though, so it's something, just remembering that one password's not a burden. So of course, when you first log in and set this up, this will be blank. You can see I've added a few logins here just to show you what it looks like. You can add your login credentials for various websites by clicking the red plus sign at the bottom right. And you start by simply adding in login information for your account. So the website URL, your username and password. So just for example here, I'm adding my Wells Fargo account maybe. This will create a new tile for that login on your home screen. So now you can see I added it and Wells Fargo is showing up in my vault here. And so now whenever I want to go and log into my accounts, I simply click one of these tiles. So for example, if I click the Chase Bank tile here, LastPass opens up a new tab right to Chase's login page. And I have a prompt where I would normally enter my username and password to have LastPass pre-fill in that information. So LastPass is sort of acting like a bookmark folder where all my logins are, and then also helps pre-fill in everything as well, which is especially handy when you have different, long, complex, and secure passwords. And so this is good on its own, but besides just doing this, remember we talked about how changing passwords regularly is really important. And in fact, that might be more important than just creating a one-time secure password. And so a lot of times that would be a pain to come up with new complex passwords regularly, and then remembering all those new passwords too that you changed on all these sites. And so here's what it looks like when I log into my Chase account with LastPass and I go to update my password. So I have my current password that will get filled in, and then LastPass gives me an option to generate a new, you can see, very secure password, not just a common word or something like that, something that'd be very hard to guess. And now with one click, I can hit fill password there and save that. Not only does it help generate the password, but it's also going to save that back into LastPass. So next time I log into LastPass and click the Chase tile, this new password is saved and will automatically be pre-filled. I don't have to go back and retype that password into LastPass. It all gets done automatically. And so this is just something, as an investment advisor, we have to be very cautious with passwords and online security. So when we have to go and reset passwords very regularly, this makes it very easy to make sure that we're still making very secure passwords, everything's getting updated, that new password's shared across the team maybe, like it could be shared with your family, with your spouse or kids if you share logins. It just makes it very easy to stay secure, but also just add some convenience for you too. There's some other benefits to these password managers we like as well. One that our clients have found particularly helpful is the emergency access features. Again, I'm just showing LastPass here and not sure if this feature is universal across all other password managers. But with this, I can enter an emergency contact who then has the power to, I guess, ping LastPass for access to the account. And if I don't respond within a set time, for example, 48 hours, but you can set almost anything, LastPass will provide them access to the account if I don't stop it within, say, 48 hours. And so if I want my brother or the executor of my will or a spouse or a child to know my login information in the event that I get hit by a bus, I can enter their name here. And if I don't stop them from requesting access, they'll be able to get everything they need to locate my accounts or gain access if they need to. And lastly, just as I feel like this became a little bit of a commercial for LastPass, I only did that because it's what we're familiar with. And while I'm happy to recommend it, we know that there's lots of other options out there too. If you want to compare some of the most popular ones that are out there today, Keep, Dashlane, 1Password, and Bitwarden are some of the other big players in addition to LastPass. Most of these have a free tier that will limit the number of passwords or devices that you can log into this service on. But the paid versions on all of these usually range from like $2 to $6 a month. So very reasonably priced, and we believe well worth it, just considering the security and the time savings that they provide you. So a password manager is going to go a long way to helping secure your online accounts, but there is one additional layer of security that you can add that will protect your accounts, that is really good to implement on at least very important sites like bank or your Schwab account, for example. And this is two-factor authentication, which really just means besides your password, the sites are going to ask for a second way to identify you. It's usually through emailing you a code, text messaging you a code, or maybe calling you with an automated call, providing a code to you. I'm going to show how this works for Schwab, since we know many of you have Schwab accounts, but the process is going to be very similar for a number of websites, mainly banks, financial institutions, but even social media accounts and things like that all have this setting available. And in case you're not familiar, here's what two-factor authentication looks like in action. When I go to log into my Schwab account and enter my username and password, instead of immediately being able to enter my account, I now get a second prompt that you see here on the left that I have to select, how to receive a one-time code. They can either call or text any number that I provide. And then I get a text like you see on the right here with a code that I have to enter into Schwab in order to log in. So this does add an extra step to logging into your accounts, but you can see that with the way this is set up, even if someone broke into my LastPass or just had my password for whatever reason, unless they also had my cell phone, you'd not be able to get into my Schwab account. And so for really important accounts, banks, investment accounts, maybe email, we think this is a really important feature that adds a lot of security to your accounts. If you want to set this up in your Schwab account, log into your account and click the My Account icon in the top right and go to Security Center. And from there, you'll see the option to enable two-step verification on either what's called untrusted devices or all the time. A trusted device just means that once you go through the process once, when you are on a certain computer, you won't have to do that again as long as you're on the same computer. And so if you always go to Schwab on your office computer, if you set this to only untrusted devices, you'll only have to do this once on your office computer. But if someone on a computer in Russia who's never logged into your Schwab account tries to log in, it will ask them for a code. And hopefully, this would stop them from being able to log in. So select the level of security that you'd like. You can have always at login, which just means every time it's going to ask you to do this. I guess that's probably the most secure. And enter your cell phone or phone numbers down below. And now you're set. Next time you try to log in, you'll be prompted for that extra code, and you'll have this extra level of security on your Schwab or any other account that you set this up on. And so I wanted to show how to do this with your Schwab account, mainly just knowing that that's a common account for those watching this, but this option is available on many other accounts you have and is a really great option for anything with just sensitive data, things that you would not want people to get access to. And one last item we're going to go through today that'll help protect you from the most common forms of internet fraud. And this last one's something we're likely all familiar with. You probably see it 100 times in your email inbox, and that's phishing. This is just the most common way that login credentials are stolen nowadays. And so we wanted to be sure to show you some examples, show you how to keep yourself safe when you're reading through your email and it looks like you get a suspicious email. Phishing is simply just emails disguised to look like they came from somewhere official, but they redirect you to maybe phony sites or trick you somehow into downloading something that can give them access to your accounts, or just trick you into providing credentials in some way. And so just as an example, here's an email that initially looks like it's from Microsoft maybe. The sender, you can see highlighted in green here, is going to show up as Microsoft Team, maybe looks official. But if you look closely, the sending address is pretty obviously not from Microsoft, maybe just an Outlook email, nothing with Microsoft in the name. And so it's very easy to have your email display a name like Microsoft Team here. So never trust an email just based on the sender's name that you see. Looking at the sender's email address is a really good first and easy step to verify the email is real. So verifying this, really good, simple first check. Another check is to see if the links in the email go to official sites or not. Probably know this already, but you can hover over a link in an email, and down on the bottom right, you'll be able to see the full link or URL address that website's going to. And it's very easy to disguise links like this. This looks, for example, like it's going to Microsoft.com, but when you click it, it's going to send you somewhere else. So you always want to try to check and make sure that links or any buttons that you click in the email are going to a website that you trust. But even let's say you accidentally click on a link before verifying, you might have another chance before you get yourself in trouble. This is an example of a phishing attempt that was trying to steal Google login credentials, just as an example. And this email, very similar to the last one, but for Google, it's from Google saying there's a problem with your account, please log in to check. When you click the link, you are redirected to a site that looked like this. And at first hand, it looks almost exactly like Google. If you have a Gmail address or any Google account, this probably looks really familiar to you. It looks really official, but the kind of giveaway here is that link sent you to a very weird URL. And so you'd be able to see this in your internet tab before you enter any credentials. That's one last check to really make sure that you're on an official Google site. Obviously this should say google.com instead of a very weird address like you see here. And so, maybe more importantly, you probably receive phishing emails from all sorts of different kinds of companies. We wanted to make sure you would know what emails from us and emails from Schwab look like, so they're safe and know what to look out for. I think it's much less likely that someone phishes using something that looks like it's from Arnold and Moat, since we're relatively small. But if they know, clients through accessing your email or something like that, I guess it could happen. And so for our email addresses, you're always going to see an @arnoldmoat.com in the email. And our emails are very simple, just our first names. And so look for either Matt, Quinn, Jesse, Nick, or Cindy as those. You might see a couple other links. Sometimes we share files through Dropbox, and sometimes we track traffic to our website through ConvertKit. So you might see a link like that. But besides that, If you see other websites, be a little bit suspicious. From Schwab, again, always look for the @schwab.com for their email, and be sure that links are sending you to some kind of schwab.com website. You shouldn't be going to anything that's not Schwab affiliated. And Schwab does send us periodically some examples of phishing attempts. And some of these emails that are getting sent out look very official. Have the logo on there. They're structured the exact same way that Schwab accounts are. But how you can tell is that the websites might be coming from Schwab alerts @outlook.com or @gmail.com or something like that. And that's the giveaway that they're not from Schwab. So be sure to look for that. Also know that Schwab or us at Arnold & Mote are never going to ask you for passwords for your online logins. We have an institutional login to get in to be able to do what we need to do on your account. We never need your personal username or password. And besides initially setting up your accounts, we never need social security numbers or birth dates, any of that sensitive data, and Schwab does not either. There are very rare instances where Schwab could reach out to you if they need something, but they will not need things like your social security number and birth dates, and they definitely don't need it just over the phone. They'll send a form to you if you really need it, but never just give that away on the phone. When in doubt, if you get an email or an alert or a phone call or a text from someone claiming to be from Schwab or any other site, instead of using links that are provided or telling someone something over the phone, just go to the website through normal means, go to schwab.com and log in that way. If there's an alert, you'll see it there. If there's something they're trying to get in touch with you for, they'll make sure you see it when you log in. Or also just call. If you get something from Schwab, especially, can call us. We're always able to see what's going on your accounts. If Schwab has reached out to you or needs to reach out to you, we probably know that too. So if you get a suspicious call, never hesitate to call us and make sure it's legit that Schwab actually needs something. And the same goes with other accounts too. If you get an email about a purchase on your PayPal account, don't go through the link in the email. Go to paypal.com, log in, go to your transactions to verify. We've seen a lot of phishing attempts with company or hackers pretending to be Amazon, verifying a purchase. So don't call the number in the email. Don't use the link in their email to verify. Go just to amazon.com, log in like normal, and check that way. And of course, when in doubt, for those companies to call and just verify. Let me go here. So that's all we had for today. Nothing really advanced, nothing that will require a lot of your time or money or difficulty to set up, but 3 just really, really important topics that if you utilize can put you in better shape than 90% of others out there. I think realistically, no one's ever completely safe. You always have to keep your guard up. Even banks and credit monitoring sites are getting hacked anymore. But from what we've heard, what we know through like LastPass and other cybersecurity providers is that if you can do just a few of these basic things right, most hackers are simply going to move on to easier targets. There's a lot of other people not doing this, and it's not worth their time to try to hack into LastPass or something, as opposed to, just trying repeat passwords that you use across the internet. So please let us know if you'd like help getting a password manager or 2-factor authentication set up. This is something we've been walking through the process with people in a few meetings lately. So we're also happy just to jump on Zoom too and walk you through the process. So please don't hesitate if it's a little intimidating setup. We're happy to help. That's all we had. Thanks again for joining, and thank you. Have a great weekend.